best bet. But every carrier's got EAPs, so it takes a lot of the initial struggle that a new agent goes through, because most of my struggle in the beginning was I would sit with the client and I'd write in the wrong application. Or I'd sit down with the client and I wouldn't realize that the application said Florida on the bottom of it and I was in California. Or I would sit down with the client and I would forget to have them sign something. My first 3 weeks were muddled with that. It's just an absolute disaster. Getting back and trying to make sure everything was filled out correctly. The EAPs take all of that off the table. Does that make sense? The EAP, it fills in all these pitfalls and pratfalls that you're going to step in if you don't. So make sure you've got e-applications. The first thing, if you're brand new, or if you're not brand new and you've not yet done this, this is the first step you want to do leaving this meeting, is write a policy on yourself. You're the first client. So when I have an agent say, well, Paul, when I book an appointment, what do I do then? And it's that uncertainty, that doubt, that a lot of times, Charles, you'll see when you hire somebody new, it disables them from taking action, because they're like, well, what do I do if we get to this point? Well, the solution is you're the first client. And so when you book an appointment with yourself, you send me an email. So what I tell is, if I'm talking to Ethan, I say, Ethan, send me an email, your age, your height, your weight, your health. I'm going to email you back what product to write, what carrier, how to quote it. We'll go through it. So it kind of starts to give that new agent clarity of what the process looks like when they book that appointment. Because I'm acting as if they're the first appointment. Does that make sense? So we're going through a role play of what the process looks like from booked appointment to preparing yourself with how to quote, with what product to write, and then how to write it. We're going to walk through that with agent Ethan when he's brand new. Does that make sense? And so if you don't have a personal policy, my question is why? And so there's a couple things. So I was working with somebody new. I said, what's the reason why you don't have a personal policy? He said, I can't afford it. I said, okay, fair enough. Now, when you think that you're ever going to have a client that you sit with that says they can't afford it? He's like, well, yeah, I'm going to get that. I said, what are you going to do? Like, give them a high five and tell them that you can't either, and when you can afford it, you'll give them a call and you guys will get back together and do it at the same time? I didn't think about it like that. You can't overcome the objection that you haven't overcame personally yet. It's like you're an alcoholic and you're trying to coach somebody else on how to stop drinking. How effective is that? I know you really should stop. And he's like, fool, you got a bottle of liquor in your hand right now. What are you talking about? And so you can't overcome an objection that you've not yet overcome. So you say, it's budget. Well, you've got to figure out a way. Now the good news is this. You figured out a way to find a plan that's affordable. Now you can be empathetic and connect with the client and take them down the same process. So how much money does it make when you get a personal policy? Well, how much, every time you got a client that says they can't afford it, you now can help them because you've got empathy, you've got a story. It's kind of like this. If you've been and I'm using alcoholic, I mean, I hope none of you here are like, I'm sure. But the thing is this, yeah, there you go, Brett. But somebody that's gone through it and was an alcoholic and has gone through it and they've made it to the promised land, they're no longer, they're better to help somebody stop than somebody that never was. Does that make sense? So you not being able to afford it, that's a good thing. Now to figure out the solution, you're going to be able to be empathetic with the client and that'll help you significantly. You say, I can't qualify because of my health. But you can, you've got products to help everybody, but you might think that, and you're going to get clients to say the same thing. So let's find a plan that you can qualify for, and so you can help clients that believe that same thing, and then you can connect with them and say, look, I understand how you feel. I felt the same way, but we do have options that are perfect for you and that will get you qualified. And so you've got to overcome the objections that you've got from getting a personal policy. Also, when you get a personal policy, you go through the application. And so some of that lack of confidence for not knowing what it looks like, you actually eliminate that because you've seen it for yourself. Does that make sense? And you get paid. So you get paid commission. So for the most part, it's really not costing you anything in that first year anyways. And when clients say, hey, what have you got? If you're pulling out a carrier that you got like 3 years ago with a different company, you should get smacked. It's like going and buying a new car. When I went and bought my new car, if the guy that was selling me my Maserati drove up in a Toyota Camry, I'm like, dude, what are we doing here? Like, should I go to the Toyota factory, the Toyota lot? Does that make sense? So there's got to be congruency with what you're saying and what you've done. Does that make sense? You guys with me? So if you don't have a personal policy, that you're the first client. You're the first in-home is you to walk through that. I think also when it comes to before you step in the door, it's really having the mindset and your mind right, and the fact that the person that you're getting ready to go meet with, they've already enrolled in getting protection for their family. Like more than half the work is in sales, generally speaking, is getting people to enroll with you, meaning that you're getting them to be interested in the service that you're providing. Once you've got enrollment, it's like if you're selling, a vacuum cleaner, you're knocking on a door and they've got carpet, right? And you say, are you interested in having something that can help better clean that? And they say yes, you've got enrollment. Does that make sense? So now they're enrolling in this journey to look at the service and see if it's a good fit. The problem is, how many doors do you have to knock on typically to get to that person that says, I would be interested in that, right? And that's why most sales, it's so hard to generate a significant amount of income, because most of your time is prospecting. The lead system we've got in place, we've got people enrolled. They've already said, we want to protect our family. We look at the request, we've read it, we've got this house, we want to make sure that when we die, our family's taken care of. So they've enrolled in the journey. It's kind of like my 9-year-old, she's in gymnastics and cheerleading, so she's like, if she was here, you'd be having a conversation, like mid-conversation, she'd bust out like a back handspring. You're like, whoa, where did that come from? She's always trying to flip around and do some kind of cartwheel. And so she lives on the trampoline. When she goes to my 4-year-old Parker and says, hey Parker, do you want to go on the trampoline with me? And Parker says yes, she doesn't have to convince Parker to jump when she gets on it. She's already enrolled in the fact that she wants to go on the trampoline. Does that make sense? So naturally she's going to jump. She's already in. It's like my 2-year-old now, she's like the same way. Even though she's 2, and she might not know, Payne's like, you want to go on the trampoline, Penelope? She says yes. She puts on the trampoline, and Penelope starts to try to jump around. She doesn't have to tell her to do that. She's enrolled in the fact that she wants to go there. And so the clients have enrolled in the fact that they want to go there. They already want to jump. You just got to be likable, and you've got to be trustworthy, and you've got to connect with them. But you've got to first understand that you're meeting with somebody that's asked you to meet with them. You really got to start to see yourself as a doctor, and they're the patient. And I see a lot of times with objections that I get from agents where they're giving me a reflection back on the appointment they sat with, is that they really have that connection flip-flop. So it's not what they're saying or what they're going through it, it's how they're doing it. Because they're doing it as if it's something in it for them, not something in it for the client. Does that make sense? That's how their viewpoint of it is completely skewed. It's like, imagine going to the doctor, and the doctor saying, hey, you need to take off your shirt. And you're like, I ain't taking off my shirt. He's like, oh, you're not? Okay. So I'll see you next time you want to book an appointment. That's ludicrous, right? But a lot of times we think the same thing. Like when we tell a client, go get your policy, and they say, we don't want to go get that policy. You're like, okay, that's fine, and then you proceed. No, when they say that, the client's saying to you that I don't see you as a person providing service. I don't see you as a person providing the solution. I'm in control. And so that's where you've got to bring clarity and say, like, I understand it might be difficult to find. My job as a field underwriter professional is to make sure I understand your situation so I can give proper feedback, and I can't do that until I see that, and I have to put documentation on what you've currently got, because I've got a state license, and they got to understand that I'm providing the best solutions for you. So go ahead and grab that. I'm going to look at guidelines while you go find that. So it's understanding that you've got the golden ticket, so to speak. You've got the value. You've got the solution. So it's like anybody in here go to a doctor's office and there's a doctor that you really like he's warm, connects with you, you feel good about the advice he gives you. And then has anybody gone and saw the opposite? Somebody they just really can't stand? And like, I don't know if I even want to listen to what he's saying. You're enrolled to get a solution when you go there. You're enrolled in the fact that there's some value that they're bringing to you. That's why you're there. All you've got to do is be the doctor that's likable, that can connect with, and then that takes complete control. I remember having a doctor in my 4-year-old. She was only 3 at the time, and my 8-year-old. They were jumping on the couch, and they thought it'd be a good idea to put blankets over each other's heads. So they were jumping on the couch, blindfold basically. Well, Parker fell off and hit her head on the table, and her head split open, and we had to take her to the hospital, and she had to get 4 stitches. Well, the doctor says, we can do glue, or we can stitch it. What do you want to do? And I was like, well, what do you mean, what do I want to do? Like, what do you think's the best to do? He's like, well, it's really up to you. I mean, it's up to me. Like, I didn't go to medical school, dude. It's up to me. I don't want it to be up to me. What's the pros and cons? Let's weigh this out together, dude. Like, my 4-year-old's over here screaming, crying. I'm watching her, and what do you think? He's like, well, it really, and he goes through and he makes no freaking sense at all. He's like, so it's really up to you. The glue, it'll leave just a little bit, darker scar. It'll eventually heal and she'll be fine. But we're not going to have to tie her down or hold her down, and it's a lot easier process than putting the suture through and all that. I was like, well, then the glue, obviously, right? We can grow in here. That seems like the obvious solution because she doesn't have to get a shot in her head and go through this traumatic situation. He's like, okay. So he puts the glue in, and the glue doesn't take, so he's got to pull the glue out and still stitch her, right? But I didn't like the guy because he wasn't definitive. He should have said, the stitches are guaranteed, the glue it might not work because he didn't. Does that make sense? But I'm looking to him for feedback. I'm looking for him to tell me what to do. So we've got to be the doctor, so to speak, that connects with the client, that finds a way to find common ground with the client, and then they want us to tell them what to do. They've already enrolled in the journey. They want us to show them what to do and how to get there. Does that make sense? I promise you, Wayne, when he sits with a client, he's not allowing control to slip his hands. I guarantee. And when it does, and they try to still control, I bet you he grabs it right back. Fair enough, Wayne? You grab it right back, and you say, well, we must have a miscommunication here. Because there is a miscommunication if they try to take control. They sent the lead back in. And so you say, why do you beat that up so much? If you don't have that right, nothing else makes a difference. Is that fair enough? I promise you it will not make a difference. A lot of times it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Well, how you say it's the way you see it. Does that make sense? It's like my wife will be like, hey babe, how do I look? And I'm like, oh, you look good. She's going to smack me, right? So I'm like, girl, you look good. That's what she's looking for, right? You see what I'm saying? I said the same thing, but it's how I said it. So you've got to see it like that, okay? The one thing that I'll tell you that I've made a habit of, because what we do, it's not selling like, cookware or what have you. It's what we're providing. It's changing somebody's financial life. It absolutely is. Now that's easier to feel that way when you deliver your first death claim. But I'll tell you a story so that way you can remind yourself of the story. And I don't have as many as Brent Abernathy. In fact, I almost feel obligated because he's had so many death claims to call his leads for him and tell him not to meet with him. Like, you're going to die if you meet with him. Like, it's bad. He's got like 128 or something. I don't know what it is. But I've had quite a few. And so I sat down with the client. This was a year after I got in the business, and it was Paul and Shoshana Henry in Yucca Valley. So I go to their house. He's 29, she's 27, and when I get there, she's like she looks like my wife right now. She's like 7 months pregnant. She looks pregnant. They've got a 3-year-old little girl running around with Kayla, and so I sit down, and the DirecTV guy is actually there working. They just moved in, so he's hooking up DirecTV. The two most important things is DirecTV and life insurance, just so you know. But he's hooking it up, and I sit down, I go through this their situation, go through the financial inventory, help him out. He's ex-military. He's a crane operator now, so he works on a crane. So I get to know him. I've got a little daughter the same age as Michaela. I write him a policy up and send it back in. Well, a month later, I come out. I go through the policy with him. The baby's now born. It might have been, so she might have been 9 months pregnant. The baby's born now. So I walk in and she's got the baby that's she's holding on this chair. Right when I walk in the door, she's on left. He's sitting down on the couch watching TV. I go through the policy with him, explain it, go through everything and leave. Well, 3 months later, she gives me a call and she's just hysterical. I can't understand her. She said Paul was operating a crane, hit a power line, jumped out of the crane, the power line hit him, and he got electrocuted to death. So she's got a baby that's 3 months old, a little girl that's 3, and they had no life insurance before I got there. He had $250,000 plus $250,000 accidental, so they paid out $500,000. He said that didn't bring him back. You're right, it didn't bring him back. But outside of an emotional heartache and disaster like losing somebody, what's one of the second worst things you could ever endure? Financial disaster, where you've got zero income and you can't provide for your family because she didn't work. Imagine financial disaster at the same time as that loss. Imagine if I never went there, I never sat with that client, I never showed up, and she's telling Michaela, Daddy's not coming home. She's got a 3-month-old, she's got a new mortgage, and she's got no income, zero income to pay the bills. What is that situation? How does she feel then? I mean, I can't even fathom, but that's what people deal with every single week. Every single day, people deal with that situation. So, the best thing that we can do is before we go sit with that client is to get our mind wrapped around the fact that when I delivered that $500,000 check to her and she could pay off her house and she doesn't have to go get a job and she's got plenty of time to mourn, grieve, and recover, think about that. Everybody else has got their hand out, but we as insurance agents got something to put in their hand. And so if you can remind yourself before you sit down with the client of that story. Now, if I've got 20-some more I can tell you. If you've got your own story, remind yourself of that story because it's your story and it's more impactful because it's something that you lived through. But if you don't, use that story. It's an absolute true story, every bit of it. So when you sit with the client, if you can put your mind right, or mind in that state of mind, you're going to perform a lot better. Does that make sense? It's like when a football team gets together, before they go out there, they're smacking each other upside the back of the head and they're getting all fired up. You're ready to go kill something. Like, we got to go kill them. Right? That's their deal. They got to get their minds right by doing that. They don't just all walk in, grab the uniform, and go meet out in the field and the game starts. No, they got to warm up, talk. The coach gets there, he's getting them fired up. There's intentionality behind that. Why? Because everybody's got crap that takes place. Everybody's got stuff they deal with. Everybody's got personal issues. Everybody's got life that happens. But if I can't get my mind to focus on the family and the service that I'm providing and the significance of that service, then I'm failing them. Does that make sense? My mom, she had 3 different brain surgeries, like maybe 3 years ago now. It was right when I started Family First Life. The same month, she had a brain surgery. So I had to take her back to the hospital, back and forth. I had to help take care of her. I mean, it was a big deal. I mean, brain surgery is not like like America's journey where he had a foot surgery and he was gone for 2 months. It's a brain surgery. And so and with that, naturally, right, Conrad, worry could set in. It's your mom. She's going through all that, doubt. Was it easy for me to compartmentalize? No, but it was necessary. But it was necessary for me to say, with all that going on, I can't control that. I've got to focus on the client. Does that make sense? So when it's something completely negative, if you can't control it, don't focus on it. Don't. You got to compartmentalize. All the kids that we keep having, that brings a lot of joy. right? Opposite of that, it's joy. So when I have my fourth daughter, because that's, by the way, you said everybody's got a different definition of success. Mine is 4 girls before the age of 30. That's winning. I don't care who you are. But you know, I could let that mess me up also. So when I'm sitting with the client, I'm thinking about how I want to be with my daughter. Does that make sense? That's also not effective for the client. It's like the guy that's on the football field and he's thinking about, like Brett Favre threw, and I know this won't excite the Ohio fans, but Seth, right? Dennis excites him. He's a full-blown Packers fan, and he's let us know that, you know. But
where's Seth at?
Oh, Dennis, yeah.
I'm sorry, what was the name? Dennis. All right, Dennis. Good deal.
So, but when Brett Favre lost his dad, he went out and had like the best game the next day. The next day, hey, do you say he didn't care about his dad? Yes, he did. But when he had the game in front of him, he had to focus on the task at hand. He couldn't do nothing about that anyways. He couldn't let his team down because of his personal thing that he couldn't change. Does that make sense? And so after he played the game, I'm sure he went more and did that, but compartmentalize is crucial. Does that make sense, guys? So this is some of the stuff that, at the end of the day, it's blocking and tackling of what we do. It's a fundamental stuff that you can know all that, but you've got to make sure you're at an elevated state of mind, the state of mind that you should be in, to serve the client, to know who you are for the client, to know that they've sent in a request and that you're the professional. Does that make sense? Is it all good? Okay, so we're going to go through a role play. Conrad,